In today's Leeds news, Bamford's future direction, Gray's first international goal, Harrison returns to Leeds, Milan make Firpo move, Fernandes fee could be out of reach, and latest on Bayern keeper. Morning folks, welcome back to The View for Tuesday morning the 27th of May with your Leeds United news. Hope your week's going well so far. We did do a live stream last night with Ben Locklocky Leeds to look at some of the players linked with Leeds over the last couple of weeks, the profile of player and whether they suit Leeds style and even Daniel Farke's style for next season. Not that we're going to sign any of these players, but just to have kind of a more detailed look at do they actually fit with Leeds, because there's a lot of names being mentioned right now. We took the more credible ones to have a look at, but we'll talk a bit more about that kind of stuff in the next coming weeks as well. Also, just a quick reminder, July 20th, the John Charles Stadium for Sport, the Leeds Creator Cup is taking place. Link down below in the description for tickets for that game as well. Let's move on. Let's talk about the news. And we'll start off with Patrick Bamford and his future direction. And Bamford was speaking with Ben Foster on the Fodcast podcast recently about his future and believes he still has 5 years or so left in the legs, but is starting to plan his next move in football. Pat is approaching his 8th season at Leeds United with no decision currently yet made around what next year will look like for him. Does he stay at Leeds or does he move on? He has 1 year left on his current Leeds United contract. Bamford said he has considered going into management and coaching after working with Marcelo Bielsa previously, but that path might be unlikely for him now. And on his future direction, Bamford said the following to Foster: "I'd like to play for as long as I still enjoy it and I can still stay at a good level, and I reckon that I've still got a good 5 years left. I feel alright now, but as soon as one of those two gives up, I think I would say that I'm not going to force it." Asked if he looked at football differently since his time with Bielsa, he said the following: "Afterwards, I toyed with the decision of, do I want to be a coach? Do I want to be a manager? But I don't know if I've got the energy to go through it. In my head, I said I'd never, ever, ever go into being a manager. And then in the last few years, I think probably since working with Marcelo, you look at the game a bit differently. And I thought, you know what? I could do it. I have ideas about how I would set up a team and how I would work, but I can't be bothered. Honestly, the amount that you give up from being 16 to when you finally finish, hotels every other weekend, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to spend my time with my kids." Pat said that this doesn't tick any boxes for him personally, and it's not a massive driver for him, and it looks more and more likely that he will continue down the media side of things as well. He's his own podcast and he regularly appears on other footballers' podcasts as well, so that looks like the direction Pat Bamford will head in future years after his football career is completed. Let's move on. Let's talk about a player whose football career is miles away from being completed and only just getting started, and that's Harry Gray. Congratulations to Harry. Yesterday he scored his first under-17 international goal for England in their game, and quite a bizarre goal, but he won't care about that at all. A mistake by the goalkeeper as he was throwing the ball up to kick it. The keeper appears to miss the ball, slightly connect with his studs, and the ball drops to Harry Gray, who taps the ball into an empty net. Disaster of a mistake by a goalkeeper, but Gray will be delighted with his goal. A goal is a goal. It doesn't matter how it goes in as long as it goes in, and he's off the mark with his first goal for the England under-17, so congratulations to Harry on that. Let's move on. Let's talk about a return to Leeds United. And Everton yesterday confirmed that Jack Harrison has returned to Leeds United after the conclusion of his current loan agreement. There doesn't appear to be any talks ongoing between Leeds United or Everton on a permanent move for Jack Harrison just yet. Anyway, after Everton confirmed in their exit tweet that they were still in talks with some of the players, but not all of them, and Jack was in the bracket of the ones that there weren't talks ongoing, at least not publicly right now. Harrison made 73 appearances for Everton over 2 seasons, scored 5 goals in 2 seasons, but only scored 1 goal this season and didn't get any assists in the recent campaign. Harrison has spoken before about his desire to stay at Everton and be part of their move into their new Bramley Dock Stadium next season and be part of what they are building in the future, and has said that he didn't want a return to Leeds United, something his mother was also caught on camera reiterating as well. Harrison seems like one of the most obvious players for Leeds to move on this summer, and from a PSR perspective, Leeds could bring in a decent PSR value for Harrison that would help significantly with this summer. Fan sentiment also not on his side. We ran a poll yesterday on the Twitter account to see if people wanted him to stay, go, or be loaned out, with 91% of the vote saying sell Harrison, 2% wanted a loan exit, and 7% were looking for Harrison to be kept on. Harrison has got plenty of time left to run on his Leeds United contract that doesn't run out until the summer of 2028, so a decision on whether he will move on or will be part of Daniel Farke's plans for next season is still to be made. And there will likely be more noise around Jack Harrison's future in the coming months as we head into the transfer window, which opens on Saturday this week. But we'll see with this one. It's going to rumble on. There's not a huge amount of links to exits away. There has been rumoured interest from the MLS as well as earlier interest from Everton before they changed manager. So we'll have to keep an eye and see where that one ends up. Let's move on and talk about another report that's come out about a potential exit from Leeds United. And this one again relates to Junior Firpo. Another week, another Junior Firpo story, and this one's come out of Italy and is a little bit surprising, I've got to be honest with you. According to Fabrizio Romano and Matteo Moretto, they claim that AC Milan are in talks with Junior Firpo's representatives about a potential move to Milan and could be seen as a replacement for current fullback Theo Fernandes, who is expected to move on this summer. A report from Football Italia today also comes in on this and says that it's not the first time that AC Milan have looked at Junior Firpo and that they have been tracking him for some time. Reports also coming out of Brazil today back up Romano's claim, and they say that if Fernandes or Alex Jimenez are to move on, that then Firpo could be seen as a direct replacement for them, but if they were to stay, it's unlikely that Junior Firpo would be a target for Milan there. However, it does go on to say that Real Madrid have real interest in Alex Jimenez and Theo Fernandes is expected to move on. Leeds do have a contract offer currently in front of Junior Firpo, and he is said to be weighing up all of his options right now before he makes a final decision in the next week or so around what next year will look like for him. He's currently in Japan along with Isaac Schmidt, Willy Nanto and a few others, enjoying Ao Tanaka's culture as he shows them around Japan. So it's going to be an interesting one. You'd imagine when he gets back from his holidays, he's going to make a final decision on that. So again, the next week or so, but we'll keep an eye on that situation. Let's move on to a link that came out last week and some updates on this. And Southampton young central midfielder Matheus Fernandes was linked with a move to Leeds United amongst other clubs last week. And it was an interesting link given the season that he had in the Premier League. Fernandes was seen as one of a few bright spots for Southampton last year, and what was a pretty dismal year for the club, and he started 34 Premier League games for Southampton, averaged 81 minutes per game, scored twice, had 4 assists, and had a passing accuracy percentage of 85%. All really strong numbers for a 20-year-old in his first year in Premier League football. Reports from Alan Nixon last week stated that a £30 million offer would be enough to get Fernandes away from Southampton, and Nixon claimed that Leeds United were the front runners to get a deal done for the player. However, the price tag appears to have changed and moved up significantly in the last week. Leeds are said to have a rough transfer budget this summer of anything between 120 and 150 million pounds, so getting the right price for the right players is vitally important for Leeds to have a successful summer this year. That being said, reports today suggest Fernandes could cost in excess of 30 million pounds, with Southampton officials said in these reports to have laughed when they heard the £30 million valuation of the player. Reports today suggest Fernandes' fee could be anything from 40 to 45 million pounds. For a player with one Premier League season under his belt is still very, very young and would be a huge chunk of Leeds United's transfer budgets if they were to pay that fee for him. Southampton paid £15 million for Fernandes last year, so it does go to show, I suppose, you can get cheap players on the continent that do go up in value in England, but that amount of money you would imagine would just be too much of an outlay, for possibly too much of a gamble for a young player, and going into a season where Leeds will need nearly guaranteed quality, if you can even get that, but you know what I mean. So we'll keep an eye on it. It's an interesting one, with Southampton being relegated and PSR likely being a problem as well. That could very easily shift in value. Anything above £15 million would give them a PSR profit, so we're keeping an eye on the next couple of weeks anyway. Let's move on to the final one of today, and relates to the link to the Bayern Munich goalkeeper Daniel Peretz yesterday. And there are some fresh reports today on the back of the rumoured talks between Leeds United and Bayern Munich goalkeeper Daniel Peretz. According to Christian Falk, who is the head of football at Bild in Germany, he has claimed that Burnley are pushing hard to get a deal done for Daniel Peretz, but also says that PSV Eindhoven are the front runners for the goalkeeper's signature this summer. Falk goes on to say that Leeds are still very much in the mix for the player, but that there is strong competition, with Genoa in Italy also keeping an eye on the situation. What's interesting in the report today is it says that Bayern Munich do not plan to take Peretz to the Club World Cup, which signals that an exit is likely on the cards for him this summer, giving him time to stay at home and organise a move away from the club. European football would have a massive draw from PSV Eindhoven's perspective for someone like Daniel Peretz, but also equally the Premier League has huge draw for any player from financial benefits as well as being seen as the best league in world football as well. So Burnley and Leeds could be in that mix. If Burnley are to sell James Trafford to Newcastle United for a significant fee, that could give them the funds to go and get this deal done for the player. I'm going to keep an eye on that situation. Personally, from looking at the goalkeepers that Leeds have been linked with over recent days, I would keep a much closer eye on Jordi Petrovic. When you look at not just the save percentages of the goalkeepers, Kelleher, Dachman, Peretz and Petrovic, Petrovic has actually faced far more shots than any of the other keepers Leeds have been linked with, and his save percentage is remarkably high, as well as his distribution percentages as well. So personally, for me, Leeds will face more shots next season than they have done before. If you go back to the Premier League last season, the Premier League as well, we saw that trend with Leeds as well. Caoimhín Kelleher hasn't faced a huge amount of shots. Dachman slightly more, but again, if you look again, Jordi Petrovic's numbers, and we covered it on the stream last week, he has faced a huge amount of shots at Strasbourg last season and made a very, very high percentage of saves as well. So for me personally, Jordi Petrovic is the one I would be keeping a closer eye on if I was Leeds, but I'm not, and we'll see what they do. There is, as I say, the podcast from last night. Myself and Lockie look at a couple of the players in a little bit more detail from a profile perspective, and again also the Content Creator Cup taking place on July 20th in the John Charles Stadium for Sport in Leeds. £7 tickets for adults, £3 for kids. Link down below in the description for if you want to come along and have a bit of fun with us on that day. Be a great day. Hope to see you all there, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning for more Leeds news. See you then.